Okay, we're just going to touch upon some techniques for product shot retouching. So I've got an image of a tie that I shot here with a typical softbox configuration, but you can just about see some of the seams in the white background here. So what we want to do is knock out this background and replace it with a pure white fill. So to do this, we'll pick up the selection brush tool, just create a rough selection of the tie to begin with. Like so, and then we'll just zoom in, make sure we haven't missed any areas. Okay, so we'll just focus on these parts down here, just single click to add them to the selection and make sure that black text at the edge isn't getting clipped off. Okay, so then we want to refine the selection. Oh, hang on, sorry, just missed a bit over here. Okay, and here, and here. Okay, so again, we want to refine the selection. So we do this using the refine option up here. Okay, and here we can clearly see that some of this text is getting matted here. We don't want that, so all we do is hold down the appropriate modifier, Control in this case, to add back into the selection. Just paint over there, release the mouse button, and it will be matted. Okay. So then we want to set our output to a mask and click Apply. All right, so now all we need to do is create a new fill layer. So we go to Layer, New Fill Layer, and by default it will be pure white. So we can drag that underneath the masked image layer, and there we ensure we have our pure white background. Okay, so then we want to crop some of the dead space from the bottom here. So we'll go ahead and select the crop tool, and we just want to drag this up a little bit. Roughly make sure that we have the same amount of white space between the bottom of the tie and the edge of the document as we have the top here. Like so, then we'll just click Apply, and that just tightens up our composition. So next I'm just going to adjust the colors slightly. Let's come back to the histogram panel here to look at our tonal distribution. So I want to make sure I've got the background pixel layer selected, because when I add my curves adjustment, it's then going to get added on top of or above that layer. So then under the curves adjustment, we want to switch from master to green, and then I'm just going to grab the bottom green node and drag it in slightly, and that will just reduce some of the green color cast to the tie. Now equally, I'm going to switch across to blue, and this time grab the top node and drag it left, and we'll see the image starts to veer towards a bluer tone. So we don't want to overdo this, just have a subtle adjustment. Okay, and that will do for the curves. I'll just hide that so we can see the before and after. So we're doing this by eye because the resulting image, as we see here, was just slightly too, shall we say, khaki compared to how the tie actually looks in reality. So we're going to do two more things to this image. One is we're going to thicken up all the line detail. So I'm going to select the image layer here, go to Layer, New Live Filter Layer, and Clarity Filter. So you're probably quite familiar with clarity. It adds what's known as local contrast, which pops all the middle tones in the image, and it gives a perception of increased sharpness. But we're going to change the blend mode to darken. So then, all we're effectively doing is just adding a very subtle thickening effect to the darker areas and edges of the image. Okay, so finally then, in addition to that, we're going to select the background image layer again, go to New Live Filter Layer, and select an Unsharp Mask Filter. And this is just going to add a fine sharpening effect, just an overall detail enhancement to the image. So we don't want to go too crazy here. For the radius, we'll set 0.5 pixels, and factor will just start to drag towards 1.5. Just for a nice fine detail sharpening effect. There we go. If I just hide the layer and then I turn it back on, you'll see it's quite a subtle adjustment, but it just lifts the detail out in the final image. So there we go then. I just wanted to give you an idea of some basic steps that we might take for product shot retouching. If I just go to the history panel and I scrub all the way back to the beginning, here's our starting image. And when all is said and done, we've cut the background out entirely, cropped it for a better composition, added some tonal adjustments, and finally just added a couple of live filters to sharpen up the fine detail and give the edges some extra punch. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to ask on the Affinity forums, and don't forget to check out the other video tutorials. Thank you for watching.